Welcome to a free workshop, like AntWak free workshop. And today is a Saturday evening, and we are thinking let's discuss the story of a brand. So we bring Gursimran today. So as you can see, today's topic is story express, expressing a brand stance in the form of story. So Gursimran, shall we start? Like I'll give you the intro, and then you can start with your session.
Yes, we can. Yes, thank you.
All right. So guys, let me take a moment and introduce Gursimran. Gursimran Singh, he comes with 14 years of experience in building problem solving interventions across different stages of brand building. He is seasoned at different strategic perspective that germinate out of scrutinized analysis of business strategy, consumer insight, and their behavior in digitized world. He has collaborated with creators and created effective solutions for big brands. You can see like Flipkart, Upgrade, Unilever, Axis Bank, and he worked with renowned communication and marketing companies like Mulello, Lentus, Marico, Kaya, Publicis Group, and Tilt. And currently he heads strategy practice in leading audio streaming industry. So very warm welcome, Gursimran.
Thank you so much for being.
All right. So Gursimran, shall you share your screen? I made you the co-host.
Yes. Okay. All
right. And guys, let's make the session a little interactive. You can put your questions in the chat box. You can unmute yourself. We can take those questions later. So yeah.
All right. I'm just going to share my screen.
Sure.
Maybe can you just enable it again, because I think there's some problem.
All right. Let me do it again. Change it to then. All right. Can you try now?
Okay.
Yes.
Hi, is everybody able to see my screen now?
Yes, we can.
All right. Good evening, everybody. It has certainly been a long week for all of us, and I sort of do respect your interest in this session. So when Sri Kumar, Rumpi, and I were sort of discussing how do we do this, I was like, let me just sort of keep it very open and conversational. The whole point of this session is not to get to a point where you sort of start learning or I start teaching, because the course is actually what is supposed to do that. But I think what this session is supposed to do is just give you a brief glimpse into what basically the world of brand storytelling is all about and how has it evolved today. And if you as a marketer are supposed to sort of build a forte as someone who will be at the helm of telling stories about brands, how does that figure out in today's day and age? So what I'll try to do is I'll probably sort of try to give you a little bit of perspective of how I do it at my end, or how I have done.
Gursimran, sorry to interrupt. I can see your screen. Guys, can you see your screen? It's full blank.
No, I've just put it on blank mode right now.
Oh,
I've put
okay.
it on blank.
All right.
Yes. So, it's just sometimes when you tend to put it on things, people tend to sort of look at the slide, and I think I want to sort of just get to the point when I want to get to the point. So that's why I just kept it a little blank right now.
Right.
Okay. So I think what I was trying to say is that what I'm going to put in front of you is a bit of a point of view on how I basically do things at Mind, or how I have done things in the past. There are a couple of tent poles that I've tried to land over here, which will sort of build enough curiosity for you to one ask a question today, clarify any doubts, uh, talk to me, throw a case at me, and then think if there's anything that you want to clarify, you want to get into a 1 minute jam on it. Um, let's do that. I sort of love sort of talking and generally building things from there. So let's keep this both ways. You have the chat applet. Please post your questions over there, and I will try to answer at relevant points in the presentation whenever I can. Yeah. So can I see like a bit of a thumbs up from everybody over here, and basically it just helps me understand that everybody's on the same page as I am. Yeah. All right.
Yes, we're getting some thumbs ups.
Great.
Yeah.
So cool. Let's get down to it. What is this whole art of brand storytelling all about? It certainly is something which is a buzzword where everybody is talking about what is the narrative for your brand? What does your brand stand for? How are consumers receiving it? Now, if you see whatever questions are there in and around this entire domain, it actually starts with the consumer and they end with the consumer at the end of it. And basically, if you were to start thinking from consumer and start going out in concentric circles and start sort of um, unpeeling the onion, what you'll realize is that at the first level, it's basically trying to understand how consumers behave. After that, what immediately comes is what do they behave like? The third is why do they behave the way they behave? What makes them behave in that way? And of course, then the outermost sphere is basically how brands will want to tap into this currency, all this, or what I call the cultural cachet that consumers are producing today as a result of things that are happening to them on a day-to-day basis, as a result of um, factors, micro factors, macro factors in and around them that are influencing to do things the way they are. So let's say, for example, um, when a uh, when an individual puts out a post on Facebook, it's not because Facebook wants him to post that. Or let's say when a consumer is putting down a review about a product, it's not that the good experience or the bad or the worst experience with a certain brand or a product tells him to do that. It's just that the consumer feels in a certain way about it, and the platform becomes a way for the person to express how he feels, whether it's good, bad, great, ugly. That becomes the starting point of all conversations that brands have with consumers on an everyday basis. Um, Storytelling has evolved in a lot of ways today, but I think what remains at the core of storytelling is that it is actually the medium to bridge the gap between your company, which is could be your brand also you may call it, the culture and the consumers you want to go after. And if the story promotes empathy among consumers, which means if the brand starts to think while it speaks to the consumers from a consumer centric way in an empathetic manner, chances are that people will sort of remember the brand a lot more. So, storytelling actually is the art of one understanding what people are talking about, what makes them talk the way they do, and to sort of have conversations in and around various topics. Uh, of course, the topic that's most conducive for the brand is um, actually the brand narrative, and the way it sort of pans out in people's lives becomes storytelling eventually. Yeah. So let's sort of try to sort of have a quick glimpse of what storytelling is all about actually. Yeah. So before I sort of get into talking about what storytelling should be, how it is, how it goes about, can I quickly sort of in your questions or your chat, have a quick line from some of you about what are the expectations you have from this session. What are some of the key uh, questions that you might want answers to in this session? Because what I'll do then is, in the narrative that I have over here, I'll try to naturally fit in the questions that you have and try to answer them through that. Yeah. So let's take about 30 seconds, and you guys can quickly put down in the question answers of the chat box. What do you expect from today's session? Okay.
So Gursimran, are you getting any DMs? Because we have some security issues. So yeah, I'm getting some questions.
I'm getting direct messages.
Okay, even I'm getting.
Okay. Ruby, you might want to do one thing, because I think there are some questions that you are only getting. I'm just getting the ones that are coming to me. So maybe what you can do is either copy or paste them in the app box, because I'm not getting. I've just gotten two questions till now.
All right. I think I got a question. Somanath is asking how to build a brand product in today's scenario. So I got only one question. Guys, any other questions?
I've got one from Divya. I've got one from Poojan.
All right.
Okay, so Divya, Poojan, on point. I will cover what you're saying, which is, as a strategist, what does brand storytelling is all about. The second is from Poojan, get to know how to frame and compose a story. So yes, Poojan, we will briefly touch upon this, but if I give out how to frame and compose a story, then the actual course, which is where you are actually taught how to frame and compose a story, we may not you may not need that. So, and it's, of course, it's a much longer session. So I'll try to answer this in the best capacity that I can. Okay. How to share the motive of starting my brand in the form of a story.
How to add emotions to a brand? I'm getting those questions.
Okay, great. So okay, Mohammed Wasim, I will sort of weave this answer in my narrative. I think there was one question which you read about, Trumpy, which is how to create a brand product, right?
Yes. Yeah. I'm there. How to build a brand product and in today's scenario.
Sorry, whoever's got that question, can you elaborate what it means by brand product?
Somanath, you can unmute yourself and tell.
Okay, so let me do one thing. Let me start with the narrative, because I don't want to waste much time. Somnath, maybe what you can do is, if you want to just elaborate on what you mean by brand product, you could probably put that in the chat applet, and I will sort of revisit this applet and try to answer your question to the best of my ability. Yeah. Okay. Cool. So let's sort of start from a point which basically is not about saying what is brand storytelling all about, but it's actually what are the factors in today's marketing scenario, in today's consumer understanding scenario, that actually govern the world of storytelling, and they govern how a brand should act, behave, interpret, and address anything that the consumers ask for today. So, like I said, these are phenomena, and treat these as guardrails. They're not gospel truth. They are definitely not something that's cast in stone, but these are just some observations that over the course of time today govern the world of storytelling. So the first one actually is there is a traditional model, which is the IDA model, and that basically talks about how consumers over time buy into a certain offering of by a brand. So first is, of course, there's awareness, there's interest, there's desire, and action. Interestingly, what is happening in today's day and world is that a lot of brands today may not have a lot of things to sell directly, or let's say what the brand sells is probably not what the consumers are interested in buying. So how do you still create a robust business? So let's say, for example, in the consumer tech business today, um, there are apps like Instagram, there are apps like Facebook, there is TikToks of the world, there are um, different music streaming apps. Now, at the end of the day, if you download an app today and start on it, not necessarily that you will buy or transact with Facebook every day, or you will sort of, on Snapchat, let's say, buy stickers every day. On most of your days is pretty much going over there, either putting out your status, putting on a sort of story for yourself, or just about checking out what others are doing with the help of the feed that's generated on your timeline. Um, at that point of time, yes, there's aware in interest. What is the desire actually, and what is the action that you take? It's interesting to know. And in most of the times today, it does not necessarily mean that a person should buy your product. Sometimes, in the age today of creators and communities, and where I think earned content is becoming of very big value for brands today, the whole desire and action has sort of taken shape of something that I call as search, acquire, and share. Because quite possibly the person may not buy you on the first time. He might just search, acquire, and then probably share. Maybe he wants to throw it out to the world. Like, for example, I'm in the market these days, I want to buy a car. Uh, it's not that every time it's fine. I may be aware of something, it catches my interest, but not necessarily that it will create a desire to buy, and not that it'll eventually get me to buy. I will take 10 test drives and probably land up buying one, and sometimes not even land up buying one. I may defer my decision by a couple of months. But what I may do is that I may be aware, I may sort of be interested, I may search about the product, uh, and I do find a model, and I may put on my social media saying that thinking of buying a top end version automatic vehicle of such and such brand. What do you think about it? Has anybody bought it? Any tips? So that's the whole act which I'm talking about, that you are still part of creating a brand story with a brand. You're still being part of a brand's narrative, but not necessarily buying it, not necessarily spending or transacting. Sometimes the transaction could just be about involving yourself in a conversation with the brand, which is what I call search, acquire, and share. It could be any of these or none of these also. So that's one way in which the entire sphere is changing. The second is, of course, performance marketing has changed the game today a lot more. But what's really interesting about performance marketing is, in fact, I did write a post about this a couple of days on my LinkedIn, is that the whole narrative of performance marketing is all about, let's say, sharper targeting, acquisition, all those sorts of things. But the thing is, you know what? Uh, Performance marketing should be used in combination with brand building, because the fact is that it's not that. So if I don't know your brand, like, how well will my performance marketing work with you? And even if it does, it will be pretty transactional. I'm not really sure if I should be buying you again or not. But let's say, for example, if I know a brand, if I sort of um, have bought a OnePlus, and I know there is a sort of a new product uh, of OnePlus earbuds that's sort of coming up right now, uh, and I believe in the brand OnePlus, my propensity to respond to a performance marketing ad and buying those headphones is much higher if I know and if I like the brand OnePlus. So performance marketing will not work necessarily with someone who doesn't have a positive disposition about your brand. Performance marketing will only work and in greater chances work with a brand where salience is high, where relevance is high, where preference is high. So performance marketing can actually make a consumer's interaction with the category start at any place of the consumer journey at any time. So let's say, for example, what I mean by this is that Your storytelling could start directly at the acquisition or the buying stage for a brand like Grofers. So what happens is that you don't need to sort of uh, um, start every time the journey with Grofers from saying that, okay, I will first have my awareness, attention, all those sort of things, and then sort of get to a point. It's not a sequential journey. You may see a Grofers ad on TV, on a bus back, on a shelter, on digital, um, but that consumer journey may not at that point of time lead into purchase. And most often it doesn't. Like, think about yourself. When you look at a Grofers ad on TV, it's not necessarily after that you open the Grofers app and you start buying. You don't. But what happens is that when you see a sort of performance ad of Grofers, that's pelted at you either through Google Display Network or on Facebook or on Instagram, whatever it is, if you have a positive disposition about Grofers, chances are you will start another consumer journey right over there at the point of purchase when you know that all these things that I need to stock up are at 15% off. So that's what I mean, that performance marketing in today is changing the game very, very differently. Sometimes, like I said, I said this in the first sort of slide over here, or the first point, or the first guardrail that I made, is that sometimes they don't want to spend or buy. People just prefer to experience the brand in all different ways. So let's say, for example, this case study, which I wanted to sort of share with you guys, is from a brand called DB. It's a brand that's based out of New Zealand. And here is a beautiful brand story, which was, of course, a campaign done by DB that was done in New Zealand. And here's a short video which basically shows what a beautiful way of storytelling this was through a campaign that DB did. So let me just sort of play this video and just sort of get you to know that this is how you leverage great brand storytelling and you get consumers hooked onto something. So this is, of course, an award-winning case study, and this is what it takes to sort of pull off a great story on a brand. So I'm just going to play this. Hold on for a bit.
Beer consumption in the U.S. is expected to be sluggish this year.
Beer sales have fallen 7%.
Beer sales have been drying up in recent years.
Only 40 years, the Miller Coors Brewery in Eden is shutting its doors for good. Shutting its doors for good.
What would you do if I told you you could save the world by drinking beer? It sounds crazy, but it's true.
Last week, a new fuel source.
Guys, can you hear the audio?
No.
Yeah, Gursimran, hello. Yes, you can't hear the audio.
Beer consumption in the U.S. is expected to be sluggish this year.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Fallen 7%.
Beer sales have been drying up in recent years.
Only 40 years, the Miller Coors Brewery in Eden is shutting its doors for good. Shutting its doors for good.
What would you do if I told you you could save the world by drinking beer? It sounds crazy, but it's true.
Last week, a new fuel source was revealed, which comes from the ethanol created during the beer brewing process.
Brutrolium. It's a biofuel made from yeast and grain that's left over after they finish making beer.
What we can see is it hasn't been done anywhere else in the world.
They are recruiting guys. They are actually recruiting guys to drink more beer for the planet. What a job.
Drink a beer and save the world. Julia, that's every man's dream.
Brutrolium.
Petroleum.
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 DB breweries has created 300,000 litres of what they're calling brutrolium.
Petroleum emits 8% less carbon than traditional petroleum.
That's 500,000 tonnes of carbon you will save from going into the environment.
The supply, well, it relies entirely on you drinking beer.
People can't seem to get enough of it. The brewery that came up with the idea is known as DB Export. It's selling its brutrolium at 60 filling stations across New Zealand.
Heineken has got massive global footprint in breweries. Now 50 of the biggest breweries want to take part in this. So next year we're rolling it out on a global scale.
Sorry, babe, can't go to your sister's house. Me and the boys got to drink some beer. Brutrolium is saving the planet.
Where are you going?
To save the world.
What time are you going to be back?
About 9. Text you if I'm going to be late.
So here's a classic example of not necessarily at that point of time, instigate a purchase, but this is about actually building on overall brand salience and brand relevance. And that's how consumers start bonding towards or start bonding with a brand in all forms, whether they be tangible ways or intangible ways, largely.
I have a question. Can I ask?
Yes, you can.
Yes, Mahida.
I have a question that.
You gotta be a little loud. I'm sorry.
Okay, I saw the full video, and end of the video, everyone is drinking beer. So, if by chance beer is not solding by the
Sorry. I lost you. You said at the end of the video, everybody was drinking beer, and then?
yes, beer. Because why they drink beer, and they can't without beer. Why?
Sorry, you got to be a little loud. You're very faint.
I'm asking that I've seen a full video and it's shown that beer is very important to people, but why beer only? Why not something else? Why beer only?
Because DB is a beer brand.
Okay, but why they drink beer so much? Because it will be affect the body also, no?
Not really. See, the problem that was there is that people weren't consuming enough beer. Yeah. So the lesser, so if you were a beer brand, and if people weren't drinking enough of your beer, wouldn't that be bad for your business?
Basically, if I say my point, when you will be drink and you will be work, so you will not work properly.
Yeah, but they aren't necessarily telling you to drink while you're working. In fact, if you
Yes,
see the part of the ad, if you see
yeah,
there's a
I've
part of
seen
the
the
ad when
bars.
the person is actually going out with his friends to drink.
Yeah, some chilling kind of, some kind of gossip is going on. So they take the beer to chill with the friends.
Yeah, that's the time they're asking you to drink, right?
But Red Bull, I think Red Bull also beer, no?
Sorry?
Red Bull.
Yeah, what about Red Bull?
Red Bull also people drink.
Yeah, but why will a brand like DB, which is selling beer, tell people to drink Red Bull?
That is a different question I have put up.
Sorry?
I put up only beer question. Beer question I have put it, and you answer it, so I got it.
No, sorry, I did not understand your question.
Yeah,
Basically, I'm saying that at the end of the video, I saw everyone is drinking beer, right?
Yeah.
They're chilling, they're doing enjoying themselves in the weekends, so that they can be meet friends and go gossip. So,
Yeah.
So they drink beer also to do cheers and all that. So it's very good. I'm not saying it is bad, but health is affecting by the beer. I'm saying that.
Are you saying, are you asking why are they drinking beer?
Uh, kind of. Yes.
Because it's, I mean, drinking beer, all of us drink beer, right? Like people who drink beer, they drink beer because they feel refreshed. It's a natural way to celebrate a moment. That's why they drink beer.
I think the question is quite irrelevant. Mahira, we can take the question later. I think we're running out of time. We can work on the content, right?
No, I
Yeah.
just understand only that everyone is drink beer and chilling day out, and they're making a day very wonderful with the other people's too also. So that's what I have a question only, but I understand what Sir said.
Yeah. Okay. So let's move on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so here's another case where um, sometimes what happens is that a lot of brands in their course of storytelling tell a lot of things which are just airy fairy lofty statements. But what is a brand, or what are brands in today's day and age actually doing to make a difference? Uh, the reason why I bring this up is because if you were to look at the millennials and, of course, the upcoming Gen Zs, who are going to be the biggest part, or the biggest part of the consuming community for any brand, they sort of believe in true things that a brand does. They are over inspective and over scrutinous when it comes to actually assessing what brands do. They don't want airy fairy lofty statements. Show them what you are actually doing to make a difference. And that's why the narrative for some of the brands is actually shifting in that space, which is, what are you doing for the larger good of the community? And that's why I just wanted to sort of put this thing, is that sometimes during the course of storytelling, it's not just about putting out a product and asking people that this is good for you, so you should buy it. But sometimes it's about saying that, how do we do certain things? Like, for example, if we are sort of preparing beer, or we are making soap, or let's say, for example, if we are helping people do creative things on their platforms, how is it making a larger difference to human beings? How is it making lives of people better? So sustainability and do good has become a very integral part of all brand conversations today. And that's the fourth guardrail which sort of governs this entire domain of brand storytelling. Just wanted to sort of share this one example of Carrefour with you, which they did recently, and they won a Cannes Award for that. This is not just about saying buy Carrefour or do certain things that helps sell the products more, but this is actually going actually behind things, making a real difference, and doing some things that are louder, better, and more effective than just talking about an airy fairy lofty purpose.
The greatest human challenge of our century is the ecological transition, and it won't take place without a food transition. Conventional agriculture is the leading cause of global warming and loss of biodiversity. Health problems are increasing, and the condition of farmers is more precarious than ever. As a leading retailer, we, Carrefour, have been part of the problem. We had to be part of the solution and put our power at the service of the food transition. We started by tackling the heart of the problem, the agrochemical lobby's attack on our food freedom. We fought to change an unfair law that forbids sale and cultivation of farmer seeds, destroying 90% of agricultural biodiversity. The black supermarket changed the law, and it changed the public opinion on Carrefour. Consumers said our action was much stronger than any classic brand statement. It encouraged us to launch the most important transformation of our history. Act for Food, a worldwide program of concrete actions for the food transition. From now on, our campaigns would become brave brand acts. Acts to improve our consumers' health. Acts to make our food system better for farmers and for the planet. Act for Food is a creative platform that led a deep transformation of the Carrefour company, impacting its business strategy, products, services, and operations. We finance 60,000 farmers in our quality program. We financed the conversion of 2,000 farmers to organic farming. We remade our own Carrefour label with the highest quality standards, deployed blockchain technology, built the largest vegan label on the market, made video surveillance mandatory in our slaughterhouses, and many more. Since its launch, worldwide sales rose by 3.1%. We became leader in organic food in France. Sales of fruits and vegetables rose by 5%. Online sales boomed by 30%. And Carrefour stock value increased by 9%. But most importantly, the whole company is now fully driven by this mission, as shareholders voted to engrave it in the company's bylaws. Be the leader of the food transition for all.
So this is what I wanted to sort of show you guys, that sometimes it's interesting to not just speak about the product, but it's good to speak about what is the business that you're in and how you're sort of making an impact to the community around who actually will consume the products that you make. Right. So here's where the conversation of storytelling starts, because here's a brand that actually is known or renowned to sort of do the best storytelling that all of us would have ever seen or encountered, Disney. It gets to the point where it makes every story full of emotions, and those emotions come alive in its characters, in what they say, in what they do, the story, the ending, and not just in the 90 minutes or the 120 minutes during which the film or the content piece is being consumed. But beyond that also, the world of Disney comes alive in more than just one way, which is just the movie or which is just the content. It has merchandise. It comes out in on-ground events. They've actually put down Disneylands at various places of the world, where the entire experience of all that they do comes alive over there. So it's actually, of course, the biggest property is that movie itself, but the world with which you interact and the world through which these stories of any Disney character or any Disney movie that comes to you is bigger than the screen itself, if I was to put it like that. And of course, their whole ability to create these emotions and bring them to life comes in the form of advertisements they do, commercials that they do, the smallest and smallest of things that people interact with Disney through. They all come alive in everything that Disney talks about. So let's say, for example, I wanted to sort of just show you a film and get that emotion, that sort of nostalgia, that sort of emotion going on. So let's take a look at this video, and it will basically tell us that, what is that magic that Disney actually creates or wants or actually sets out to create every time.
To dream the impossible dream, to fight the unbeatable force, to bear with unbearable sorrow, to run with the brave dare not go, to right the unrightable wrong, to love pure and chased from afar, to try when your arms are too weary, to reach the unreachable star. This is my quest, to follow the star, no matter how close, no matter how far.
Like, we've always seen Donald Ducks since our childhood. All of us have at some point of time interacted with it. It is how the magic of their characters brings out in life and how they remain like a bond with you uh, lifelong is the magic that Disney sort of creates every time with everything that they put out over there, and that is the power of the brand. But how do they actually land up doing it every time with every single thing that they do? Of course, there is a certain set of things that uh, we need to ponder over, which I will put down as top 2 3 questions over here. Is that what is the tipping point in culture that the brand capitalizes on? Uh, and what is the shared human experience that forms the backbone of brand's storytelling? What could be the next chapter in the brand storytelling journey? I mean,
सर
these are
बेसिकली जो डिज्नी चैनल है और जो भी उसके कैरेक्टर्स हैं बहुत ज़्यादा फेमस हो चुके हैं जहाँ पे भी डिज्नीलैंड खुला हुआ है तो
Yeah, you can carry on, Gursimran.
yeah, okay. Sorry, was there a question in between somewhere?
No, it's fine.
Okay. No, so I just wanted to sort of get some couple of reactions over here. That what is brand Disney trying to solve for? What is the tipping point in culture that the brand wants to sort of tap into? Let's just spend 30 seconds and have some quick answers to it, or let's say if you have a point of view, let's just hear it out. Anybody?
Yes, Shreya.
So I've been to Disneyland, and I think it was the emotion of the nostalgia that was trying to create. That we've been watching Disney since we kids. We have been looking out for Mickey. We've been seeing all the Disney clubhouses, anything and everything related to Disney. Sorry. So I think that is what Disney is trying to get into, to show like you are not different. We are still here for you. We understand. There is diversity, but Disney kind of brings it all together. Like we grew up on the same childhood watching Disney.
Right. Sorry, anybody else?
Здравствуйте, привет.
Hello. Yeah, I think Shomnath is saying it's trust.
It's trust, okay.
Who is завернутый газету заменяет сигарету?
Sorry,
I'm so sorry. I don't know what's happening. I'm so sorry.
Okay. No, so I think what we are trying to sort of see is that what is the sort of culture in which Disney sort of taps into that culture every time, which makes us bond with Disney so well. One way I think what you spoke about, Shreya, was quite true, that it is the sort of nostalgia that today with which you vibe with Disney. And I think that nostalgia, why it got created over the course of time. I mean, it's easy for us to forget those things because of so many things that keep happening in our lives again and again. But what keeps us coming back to Disney? I think Disney for me is a world that's all about happiness. It's a happy world at the end of the day, and it transports us from whatever hardships, whatever difficulties, whatever challenges that every day brings us, and that those few moments that make us feel that life is so good, is so happy, is what Disney, I think, sort of landing again and again. And that's why when you sort of look at the Lion King, it's a different conversation there altogether. When you look at Luca, which is one of the recent launches, you feel the same again. It's a world that transports into you. It's a medium that transports you from a world of daily mundane to a world that's entirely full of happiness. So that's exactly what brand Disney is all about. I think what I wanted to sort of quickly show you is that when we're talking about what is that shared human emotion that becomes the pivotal point of every Disney story, I wanted to play a clip from actually The Lion King, which is
Good grammar and spelling are important, but if you
which is just which is one of our favorite all-time movies of this Disney, and how does that actually make us feel and believe the fact that Disney lands up weaving that magic every time. So let's just quickly take a look at this clip.
Oh, look, sire. The herd is on the move.
Mufasa, quick! Stampede in the gorge. Simba's down there. Simba.
Your father is on the way! Hold on! There on that tree! Hold on, Simba! Oh, Scar, this is awful! What do we do? What do I do? I'll go back for home. That's what I'll do. I'll go back for home. Scar! Brother! Help me!
Long live the king.
So it's that whole moment where everybody knows what's happening. Everybody is wishing that Simba gets saved, and everybody's wishing that actually Mubasa um, uh, gets saved. But uh, the fact that Disney knows that losing Mombasa at that point in the story would be the right thing to do if you are to build intrigue and if the story has to build out from there. So Disney knows actually what is that shared human experience that will become the focal point of every story. So when we are sort of weaving stories for brands, that's exactly what we've got to look after. So let's say, for example, in the beer case study that we saw at that point of time, the whole shared human expression over there was around a very interesting insight, which is a lot of people think that actually saving the world will need them to sort of plant more trees, consume natural fuels lesser, and all those sorts of things. But actually, the answer is that you can save the world by drinking beer. Now, that was a shared human experience, which actually makes storytelling for that brand to be a lot more interesting. Or let's say in the case of Carrefour, which we saw at that point of time, the shared human expression over there is very simple, which is that all the big companies that we know of have always been creating more problems for the ecology and the ecosystem around. But here, you don't want to be part of the problem, you want to be part of the solution. That becomes a shared human experience that people want to hear about, that people want to see brands acting on. And how do you sort of combine this shared human expression with different formats, the way in which you tell your stories, the way you make consumers interact, engage, not make it a one-way dialogue, but make it a two-way dialogue. So that is what we're talking about, great storytelling, and one of the biggest elements of great storytelling over here. So the biggest part of every storytelling is actually culture, and culture is actually what makes people behave the way they do. The reason why people will look at something is because it sort of touches, it relates to them at a very, very personal level, and that's why people will watch it. And knowing or leveraging that culture amongst people to make people interact with your brand is the art of storytelling at this point in time. And culture, like I put over here, is a cumulative concept that encompasses knowledge, belief, customs, practices, and any other habits acquired by people as members of the society. So it's like saying that uh, in the last 1.5 years, we've been sort of in COVID. But what has been sort of interesting is that this sort of a culture has made us believe that we don't need to have lavish lifestyles. We don't need to spend a lot more to be happy, to live our daily lives. We have learned to live with the minimal means. And that is what the culture in the last 1.5 years has done to us. So, Fanta as a brand is a very lively, vivacious ad directed at the youth. Uh, of course, there are a thousand number of brands that are targeted towards youth. But what makes Fanta interesting a lot more is the fact that Fanta has a very distinct voice, the different point of view that it takes on youth as a demographic. The way, the formats in which it tells storytelling, like let's say, for example, this what we see over here is this, they actually put this ad out, and it was an ad that you could tear off just a piece of this and pop it in your mouth, and it would taste exactly like how Fanta does. And that's a very different way of storytelling, which the brand does time and time again. But what's important is the cultural context or the culture in which Fanta taps into. And the cultural nuance is very simple over here, is that teens feel more pressure than ever from all sides. They are the generation right now. The older people are saying that you are the ones who has to carry the world ahead. And everything that they seem or do in this context to have a long-term consequences. So basically everything they do seems to have long-term consequences, and the only thing that gets rewarded is pattern learning and the one right answer, which is about saying that uh, anything has just one fixed point of view and there can't be any other point of view. That's how our earlier generations were raised. There is a correct answer. And today, increasingly, because people have different opinions, they have different levels of exposure, think differently about different things, and they tend to believe that there is no one right answer. Imagination can make you think beyond that one right answer and have many supposedly acceptable views that people can talk about, that people can embrace. So increasingly, imaginative thinking and cultural expression are considered a waste of time at best of, or a misuse of time at worst. So it is this small tussle between the teen generation today and the earlier generations that have set the norm of the world, which is emphasizing on definitive approach as opposed to having an open mind. That is the cultural context in which Fanta as a brand thrives. So let's say if Fanta as a brand has to sort of go ahead and do its brand storytelling, which it does today, a lot of things actually are at play for Fanta. One is about understanding what the culture is about, which we just had a look at. Now, given that culture, the brand has to respond. It has to build a certain story narrative about itself, which is why knowing one, what is your brand all about, what it does, what it stands for in this culture, what it aims to do is very, very important. And that's the first rock of brand storytelling strategy, which is knowing what your brand can do, what your product can do. The second is basically persona. Persona is a very interesting thing that's sort of come up in the recent ages. It's because not every person has the same motivation towards any brand or any other product. So let's say, for example, I uh, could be watching a movie to gain knowledge. Someone else could be watching a movie to kill time. Third could be watching a movie because of a different motivation altogether. Different people will have a different objective to sort of watch a movie, watch a piece of content. Similarly, different people have different points of view. So let's say, for example, let's go to the most mundane category, which is using a soap. There are different motivations why people will brand a soap or not. Someone could be basically saying it's great value for money. Someone else would be saying I like it because of its fragrance. Someone could be saying it's basically a great format to use in. Someone else could be saying I really like the packaging. Someone could be saying it comes from a certain parent company and that's why I trust this brand a lot more. So the different people and different motivations and hence different personalities come into play. And increasingly, because people are sort of having different views, like what we read in Fanta, uh, people are on different platforms to express and spend their time differently on different platforms. Different people are present and can be met by a brand on different platforms, and different motivations, different needs can be fulfilled. And that's why there is no one common target audience anymore. Every brand has multiple cohorts that it needs to address, which is where I say we should have a healthy disdain for just one definition of a target audience. And of course, once you know what the brand is all about, what's the culture in which it's playing, what is the benefit or the proposition that your brand can leverage, and to who all these benefits are relevant, which is where actually your engagement strategy comes into play over there. Saying that if this person is on Facebook, this is the message I can give. This is how interestingly I can create my message, my creative, my asset, which I'm going to put on Facebook, as opposed to these are the audiences that are present on TV. They need to know this about my brand, and I will make an ad which is like this, of this much duration, and this is what it will say, this is what it will show, or probably this is the celebrity also that it will use. So that's how engagement strategy works. So three big cornerstones of brand storytelling: one is brand audit, two is persona, third is an engagement strategy or an engagement framework. Yeah. So let's just to quickly look into what are the factors that come into brand audit at this point of time. It could be product, place, price, promotion, packaging, personality. But what's really important is that you sort of crystallize all that you know across these 6 P's into two buckets. One is the right to participate, second is the right to win, which is basically right to participate is what will get you to be playing in that category, and right to win is what will give you to the right to win against everybody in the category. So that's at a larger level brand audit. And for some of you who will be sort of taking up this course later, we'll sort of get into the details of how do you actually populate a right to participate and a right to win for a brand. Brand persona, which is what I spoke about, they could be different people. Some people like for one set of brand, let's say beauty. Let's take beauty as a brand. You'll have a discount chaser, you'll have someone who's a researcher who basically just looks into what are different formats, what are different products available in the market, what are different ingredients they have. And the third is, let's say, a fashionable diva who is all the time influenced by different personalities and creators on Instagram. So all people will have different motivations towards buying a certain brand, largely. So, like I said, why do we need brand personas? Is because people are not uniformly the same in this world today anymore. And of course, your engagement framework and your media helps you sort of make those choices of who to speak, uh, where to speak, and how to speak to them. A lot of tools are available in the market today, like ComScore. There's SimilarWeb available, which will tell you what are the sort of key channels that people sort of go to. So one graph could be like this, which basically shows that if a brand has to make a strike early, what could be important to the brand is basically go to entertainment platforms, go to social media, go to gaming, go to technology platforms over here and meet its audiences over there, probably even go to instant messengers at some point in time. So that, and every medium has a different way in which people interact with it, which is why you should know how people interact with the message over there in that medium. And do an end-to-end engagement with people. It's because if you leave a conversation on any platform half fulfilled, you will be telling the consumer only half your story. So that's your engagement strategy, which is basically where to meet and how to sort of intervene over there. So yeah, this is a slide, I think, which Rumpi, do you want to sort of take? But I think before Rumpi takes it on, what I want to sort of leave you guys with, and maybe we can have a quick 5-minute discussion or a Q&A of any questions that you may have. What I want to leave you with is storytelling is a long drawn process. It just does not work with just performance marketing. You also need to say what your brand stands for, what is the advantage that it will give you, and you actually need to make people engage with your brand in different ways on different platforms. And that's what brand storytelling is all about. The reason why today Apple as a brand exists today is not because it's just Apple the brand and makes great products, but it also emphasizes the very effective ways in which people have spoken. The brand has sort of conveyed, intersected people in different engaging ways across. And that's exactly the magic of the brand that happens over there. So the moment you sort of buy a product, there's a story over there. The moment you're opening it out of the packaging has another thing to say. When you sort of go to an Apple store, it's a different conversation over there. When you look at its ad, that's a very different conversation over there. But all of them actually boil down to one thing, is actually about talking to people who like to do things creatively. It makes you believe that you are a damn creative person when you are in the Apple world. And that's exactly the personality that Apple wants to sort of nail for itself. So a lot of nuances around the points that I've said are just a reflection over here in this session today. We do have an elongated and a separate 2-weekend module over this in the course per se. And yeah, I think to sort of speak more about the course, I'll leave it to Rumpi, but I think I just want to have some quick questions. Rumpi, do we have 5 minutes for questions or we...
Yeah, shall I discuss that, and after that you can take questions? Is it fine for you?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Let me share my screen. If you don't mind, stop sharing.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Let me share my screen. So first of all, Gursimran, thank you so much for the incredible session. And guys, let me talk about, AntWak. We are an experiential learning movement running program, and which is powered by industry leaders like Gursimran. So guys, we have 3 philosophies, right? So first one is learning from practicing professionals. So what in AntWak we did, we brought experts from different sectors, from different brands. They came and shared their experiential knowledge. For digital marketing domain, we have more than 300 plus experts. So this is our first philosophy. Second one is learning by doing things. We focus more on practical hands-on stuff rather than theoretical part. And third one is learning through live immersive classes like we are doing right now. We think for live classes, the knowledge will be more effective rather than self-recorded content. So believing on those philosophy, we introduced master's program in digital marketing. The duration, as you can see, it's 16-week programs, and we have more than 13 plus modules, right? And for each modules, we have experts from leading companies. As you can see, we have experts from Amazon, Google, Netflix, Geo7, Puma. So those experts are coming and teaching you guys. And for each module, you'll be having, proper real-time projects. So now this cohort batch, they are working on Google Ads campaign. They are creating campaigns. They are running campaigns, both search ads and display ads. So for each module, you'll be having projects. So yeah, and you can get your hands dirty on different tools, as you can see, Uber Suggest, Canva, whatnot, Google Ads, Sendinblue, Google Analytics. And guys, if you guys are interested, so please do check out. I'll put the link in the chat box. If you guys are interested, you can click the link and we'll get in touch with you. And some discount is also going on, so please do check out. Let me share this. Yeah, the link is there, guys. You can check out. Okay, Gursimran, I think we can take the questions.
All right.
Yeah.
Any questions that I can sort of clarify at this point of time that'll sort of help you get a bigger or a better grip at this topic over here?
Yeah, guys, please ask questions.
For me, what we can also do is if there are any questions, then
yeah, we have questions. Somnath asked, that time how to build a brand product, and now he clarified his questions. Is like there is lots of product in market today, right? So people go after branded product. So do you think like how important is that of making a product a brand, or its brand or its quality more important than brand? And basically he means, yeah. You understood, right?
Yeah, I think I did. So Somnath, I'll just try to answer this question. Like, let's say, for example, right now, here's a bottle of water that I'm having. It's called Blue Pine, right? I take off this label for a minute. Yeah, at a product level, it's just a glass bottle that has some purified drinking water in it, right? It's a product at that point of time. It quenches your thirst. Now, if I was to say, how much will you pay for it? Sorry, Sona, do you want to speak about that? Maybe we can talk about it. How much do you think you want to pay for this? Is Somnath still on? I think he's dropped off.
I think he dropped off. Anybody else, guys? You also having these questions, maybe?
Yeah, well, basically all I wanted to say is that the moment you sort of just have this branding covered, and it could be anybody's guess. Nobody will want to pay 100 and 200 rupees for this bottle. They might want to pay just 10 rupees for it. But the moment I put this label on, the moment I have a great product story written where it comes from, the mountain water and all those sorts of things that I do around it, I create a story around it. And that's what makes people sort of pay 200 or 300 bucks for this bottle of water at the end of it. And that's exactly the story that you build, how you make people live with a certain brand world or experience a brand world is what makes you pay 200 rupees, 300 rupees for this bottle of water. Otherwise, the water inside is not even worth 10 rupees. So you have a product, you have a brand. There's a big difference between the two.
So beautiful. Another questions actually we got. Gursimran, let me scroll up. Yeah, Prashant is asking how to add emotions to a brand.
Right. So it actually comes down from various things. One is, let's say, for example, when I'm talking about, I just touched upon the whole culture that we've been living in the last 1.5 year. We've been sort of living in an era of minimalism. Yeah, I mean, the last 3-4 months have been quite encouraging. A lot of people have started living the life again after getting vaccination. But when there was no vaccine in sight, we pretty much were sitting inside home, ducking and waiting for a miracle to happen. At that point of time, we were not wanting to go to clubs. We never wanted to sort of have the lavish parties and all those sort of things, because we knew that if we had it, we pretty much may not have a chance to survive. Now, in this sort of a situation, certainly any brand that would come on board cannot adopt a jovial tone. Any brand that comes on board can't sort of be chatty. It can't be reckless. A brand has got to be empathetic. A brand has got to be honest. A brand has got to be trustworthy. So automatically the emotions and the world of emotions that embodies a certain brand becomes part of the culture that exists, and what is the state of mind in which consumers are or people are living within the boundaries or the walls of that culture. Uh, that's how you sort of decide on emotions that are there. Or let's say, for example, if I was to take agnostic of the situation that we are in right now, a brand like Nike, let's say, for example, right? A brand like Nike is all about saying that quit the mindset that gets you to sort of stay at home and stay in bed and sit in sofa. Get up and go run. Because if you have a body, you are an athlete. So the natural tonality or the natural emotion of the brand becomes that of someone who is a cheerleader, someone who is a performance brand, if I was to say, and a brand that sort of talks about great technology and performance enhancement. And as a result, it becomes the personality of a coach, and all the emotions that the brand tends to gather around itself become that of a coach, which is serious, determined, bucking up. That is the sort of spirit or the world in which Nike exists.
All right. I think we are done, guys. Anybody else want to ask question? Yes, you can wrap up. Yeah, sure.
Hey, Shreya.
So my question was, I actually had been asked this question. My question was, so suppose that the brand, maybe your agency gets hired by a company which is very casual, has a very fun tone of voice and everything, but you also get hired as by a MNC, which is like a proper professional company. How would you set a tone for them? Like, supposedly, we worked on a car rental company, so it was fun for all casual. But how do we speak for, let's just say, for an MNC company? How would we talk to them to hire us or to lay out our plan proposal?
Right. If I got your question right, I'll just repeat it. You are an agency, right? How will you talk to a general company, which could be Indian or whatever it is, as opposed to an MNC? Is that your question?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So it clearly depends upon the personality of the MNC brand as well, right? Now, we all know that the brand Amazon, which you can even see on our screens right now, is an American brand at the end of the day, right? But Shreya, just to sort of ask you a question. Do you think Amazon is any lesser Indian?
Absolutely not. Because there are a lot of stuffs that absolutely not. They are as much as I mean, I think they are. I think they're the third largest when it comes shopping when it comes to the whole. India has comes to as third or fourth, something around that. So that we use Amazon more.
Yeah, the point I wanted to basically say is that despite it being an American brand, do you agree that it has embraced the Indian ethos very well?
It has. Definitely.
So let's sort of see the way I always answer any question is that when you have a question saying that how would you do it for MNC brand, take an example of a brand. So let's say, for example, take the example of Amazon over here. It is a brand that stands for India. It's a brand that stands for value. It's a brand that stands for efficiency, and it's a brand that stands for non-disappointment. That's why if you look at the brand and all the campaigns that it did, which is Amazon Wale or Apni Dukan, they have pretty much embraced all these values as such. So I'm saying that if you are talking about what is the approach an agency should be having to Amazon, there are 2-3 things. What we could do as an agency, if you are to sort of go and pitch to them, is one, understand how Amazon looks at India. Yeah, Amazon basically looks at India as 1/6 of the world's opportunity lying over here, which means scale is very, very big for Amazon. That's the first thing. 2 is that they know that different parts of India respond differently to different things. That's why you will see any communication that Amazon does, whether across TV or sort of even performance ads and all those sorts of things, it tends to do in all different languages, which means it's cognizant and it's aware of what the Indian audiences in different regions are. So the second thing that I would say is customized over here. Third is that it puts the consumer at the center of everything. In fact, if you read at Amazon's vision, their vision is to be the most customer-centric company on this earth. That's why they will have all the things, the largest collection of it, and they also promise you to deliver it in one day. So the third thing which I would put over there is empathy. So the first is scale, second is customized, third is empathy. If you are an agency that looks through at Amazon through 3 of these filters, my bet is that chances are you will not go wrong on understanding Amazon and a brand, and you'll be able to talk in a language that Amazon speaks in.
As I actually sorted out.
Sorry, your voice is breaking, Shreya.
Sorry, I said that answer actually sorted out a lot of my doubts in one answer.
I'm glad I could. Sorry, anything else?
Yeah, guys. As you can wrap up the session, guys. And even Gursimran is a part of this master's program, guys. I forgot to tell you, he is taking brand and storytelling module. So he'll be giving a good, project also. So that class will be very interesting. Even Shreya also joined the session. She's from first batch. So yeah. All right.
All right.
So, okay. All right. Thank you so much, Gursimran. Thank you so much for your time and the beautiful session. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Rumpi. And thank you, everybody, for being here. I hope to see you. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.